So, good afternoon, all the friends. Today we have joined to mark and celebrate the World IP Day. This is a time which reminds us about our responsibility and also about the importance of intellectual property and innovation. We know in this era of globalization led by the forces of innovation and technology, IP plays a vital role. And for India to grow in coming years, the innovation will have a greater role for making this country a strong India. Our Prime Minister's vision for making 5 trillion economy can only be achieved if we spend more on the research and development and we create more and more awareness as per our national IPR policy. The theme of this year's World IP Day is IP and SME. We know that MSME plays a very vital role in creating employment in our country. Not only that, it contributes a very larger chunk of manufacturing as well as of exports. So therefore, all the SMEs, they should have a complete awareness program. Government of India also should also take up awareness program for MSMEs because they are the backbone of Indian economy. When we think of the strength of India, this lies in agriculture as well as in the MSME. This provides the largest number of employment through unorganized sector and through our farm sector. So therefore, without taking much of your time, as today we have requested Dr. Mohan Dewan, who is a pioneer in the field of IP and innovation in the whole country, and whose firm R.K. Dewan and Company, which is playing a very larger role through its presence in various parts of the country. So I request my elder brother, Dr. Mohan Dewan, to please take up today's session and to deliver his speech. And I hope all the participants will have a good time and good deliberation. Thank you all. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Dhanpatji. Thank you, Dr. Agarwal. I am not able to speak very loudly today, as I usually do, because I just returned from the hospital about 2 or 3 days back, and I was in hospital for about 13 days. So I'm just out of it, and therefore I will not be speaking very loudly, but we would. I hope you can all hear me. But what I will be speaking is I will be speaking from my heart. This has been my 52nd year in the profession.
Very good.
I've been in the profession for over 52 years now. And it has been 52 years. And if somebody asks me, again, if I could relive my life, what I would do, I would still say that I will still do IP and nothing else but IP.
Good.
Because IP has now transfused into my blood.
It's also great inspiration to everybody, sir. You have already celebrated a Golden Jubilee and now you are moving ahead. So we look forward for your better contribution.
Yes, sir.
In the field of IP.
Yes, sir. And this particular topic is very close to my heart. As I was talking to Devapriya, I mean, basically it is not my session, but your sessions, all of you. This session is meant for you. So I just said, let us start in the reverse fashion, more than or very different from what other people do. I asked Devapriya that is there any way, or are we going to follow that practice of asking people is there anything particularly that they would like me to talk about? Are there any questions that they have in their mind about IP? And now is the time that I would very much want you guys to share. And those are the questions, as more and more people are joining, those are the questions that I would like you to answer, and in the chat box if you can have them, and those are the questions that I can then reply. Devapriya, are we following that practice, or we have sufficient strength? Are we? Hello?
Yeah. So I can unmute you.
Sir, hello.
Yes.
Sir, you can start your interactive session first, then we will
Yes,
proceed.
I just thought we can start the interactive session.
Yes.
But therefore, for the interactive session, I would like any one of you, any one of you who have some questions in their mind. Remember, this is a session for ideas to market. So it's not going to, but if there is any particular thought process that anybody has, you are welcome to ask me, and if I can try to answer those questions, I'd be delighted to answer. Any questions that you may have on IP?
Can I just raise one question for deliberation by all the members?
Yes, sir.
We are passing through this corona pandemic, and
Yes,
since this is a public health issue, and therefore will this Doha Declaration Para 5 for the public health and the manufacturing of the drugs by the generic company will be allowed, or it will remain the patented property of the...
Excellent question, Dhanpati.
Yes.
For example, there is Section 92 of the Patents Act. Section 92 of the Patents Act permits the government at any point of time to take over any patent that is there for example, the Remdesivir product that they are talking about in India. The Remdesivir patent belongs to Gilead. Gilead is a company that is actually an Israeli-US company, and they own the patent for Remdesivir. They have in fact licensed six manufacturers, but nothing stops the government from exercising Section 92 and giving licenses for the manufacture of Remdesivir to many more companies. For example, I think Dr. Reddy's is one of the persons who is authorized. There is Zydus that is authorized in Ahmedabad. There are 3 companies in Hyderabad. Mylan is authorized to manufacture Remdesivir.
True, sir, but
There are 6.
but then a question of minimum royalty may come to negotiation because the company may ask for a higher amount of royalty.
Yes, sir. Under Section 92, the government can virtually take over the patent application, license it, and can decide on the royalty on their own. This is not like the compulsory licensing stories, sir, where you have to apply for permission. Section 92 is even stronger than the compulsory licensing provisions.
Okay.
Therefore, we can really exercise Remdesivir. There is, of course, another product which is being used very popularly in India, which is called Favipiravir, or what Glenmark is selling as Fabiflu tablets. That is not been recognized, although they are giving it. And most of these medicines are actually meant for symptomatic relief. They are meant for symptomatic relief for COVID-19 patients. Remdesivir or whatever that we have to take, and there are a whole lot of. I think it is a little. I can say that we have been working with, I would say, at least 20 manufacturers in different fields. There is a homeopathic medicine in they are called nosodes, which have been created by some companies. It's a company called Life Force in Mumbai, who have created homeopathic medicines in this realm. There are Ayurvedic medicines that are available, and I believe that the government should try all as far as symptomatic reliefs are concerned. There is in Tamil Nadu, there is a Kada kind of a medicine which is available, which has given relief to several people. Now there are different kinds of medications, but the most attractive and the most where everybody seems to be having faith is remdesivir. And if remdesivir is going to be the choice of medication, then of course the government can manufacture, can use Section 92, take advantage of 92 and give it Section 92 of the Patents Act, and give the license, and it should take not more than 6 to 8 days for setting up a manufacturing setup for making these. Those, of course, they will have to give it to those people who have a license to manufacture injectables. Remdesivir, as you know, is an injectable medication. Favipiravir or Fabiflu is a more tablet kind of, so there is more possibility of coming out with greater Fabiflu. But remdesivir is possible. Whoever has got an injectable license can manufacture these kind of injectable medications.
So therefore, the prices in future are likely to come down.
Yes, sir. If under Section 92 you have more than you have people like Mankind, you have people like M-Cure in Pune, you have got people in Mumbai, you can Cipla, for example. Particularly companies like Cipla is given the rights. If Natco, there is another company in Hyderabad called Natco. Natco is given rights. In West Bengal, in Bengal Pharmaceuticals, for example, they have a license. If Dr. Sarkar who's there, I believe they come out with excellent medications. West Bengal that would be another possibility. There are a large number of companies who are prepared to do it, and it is only the will of the government who can take over this and give them these licenses and take it over. And I believe at this point of time, Gilead will not refuse. Gilead will not refuse to get this. Same thing, sir, can also be done. What can also be done with the vaccines.
Okay.
Section 92 can also be used for the manufacture of vaccines. Again, additional vaccines. There are other people who can manufacture vaccine. I'm not speaking of so much of Covaxin, but the Pfizer vaccine, for example. If they can fast track the Pfizer vaccine, the J&J vaccine, because these vaccines, remember, I think several people are not aware of this, that the vaccine that is there at the Moderna and the J&J vaccine is an mRNA vaccine. It's a different type, it's a different genre of vaccine than the Indian vaccines, which are what are called vaccines of the virus itself. Those vaccines, the mRNA vaccine is a more powerful vaccine. And I believe if we can get those vaccines in, somehow if we can get those vaccines in using Section 92, I'm sure that we could
So you are
certainly.
giving very, very useful information. With your permission, can we take the liberty of putting your talk on YouTube so that many more people can know about it?
Absolutely, sir. I'd be quite happy to share. We have been working because right from what we did is we threw it open. For example, I would just like to share. I normally don't do it, but I work for Serum Institute, sir. We work for the patenting of Serum Institute in Pune, and therefore we are very much involved in the AstraZeneca and the Serum Institute vaccine program. Therefore, right from March 2020, in fact, what we had thrown open was that anybody who has come, who has a COVID or anything to do with this, any patent application, we will not charge fees. We had decided not to charge any fees, any of our professional fees for filing the patent applications for them, only the official fee. So with that, we were able to file, and you will be surprised at the at the kind of responses that we got for a specific patent application that covers COVID. We decided not to charge any fee, professional fee. That was our contribution to IP, and I would like to share that if there is any particular patent and of course a company or an individual who cannot afford. So probably I filed the first sanitizer patent application in India, which was foot operated. The foot operated sanitizer now, that particular patent application filed by an IIT student. We filed so many patent applications for different kinds of beds for hospital to immediately convert within 48 hours any facility into a COVID center. It was possible, and with that,
is the government thinking of granting patent in such cases on a faster track basis?
Yes, sir. And today we are getting patents granted in about 13 months. The fastest patent application, the fastest patent grants that we are getting in India, it was much faster than Europe has always been very slow. USA used to be fast, but in
I was
India,
in Japan and I found that they have a benchmark of 11 months.
Sorry?
Japan has a benchmark of 11 months. I was working
Yes.
in JPO for 3 months as an international research scholar on a topic
Yes,
called international exhaustion. And there I used to have interaction with the JPO people, and there the benchmark is 11 months only for granting.
Yes, sir. Now, for that, we will have to change our rules slightly. Our section, the Patent Act will have to be changed, because the Patent Act says has a time limit of 6 months.
Yeah.
After the date of publication, you cannot get a patent granted. I can file urgent publication within the first 6 weeks, but to get a patent granted, that 6 months is an act. So they have changed so many things. This is one more thing,
I would request you, if you can just, with some logic, if you can send some points that these are the issues which require some amendment
Yes,
for
sir.
the people's welfare.
I will certainly help, sir. If that 6 months is the hindrance, that is preventing even earlier grants. Otherwise, at the moment, 13 months, 12 and a half. The earliest patent that I have got during COVID is 12 and a half months. That is slightly less than 13 months. But if this 6-month period is waived, if they can waive this 6 months period, we can get patents granted even earlier.
Please send me a note. I can have a word with you.
Certainly, sir. I will do that.
Yeah.
Dhanpatji, let us ask the forum if anybody has got any particular questions.
Sure. So we have 19 participants, and now I request other members for participating. First, my request is everybody, if they can put their video on so that we can have their face, so it becomes more interesting to see the face of everyone. And then
Hello, Meera.
Okay.
Hello.
Yeah, Meera. So Meera, can you have some question before Dr. Dewan?
Hello, Venkat.
Yes.
Hello, Venkat. How are you, sir?
Good evening, sir. Very nice to see you. And I'm so happy because you are back from hospital.
Okay, sir. Thank you.
Sir, Dhanpat Ramji. Good evening.
Namaste. Good afternoon to everybody.
Hello, Vishwanath.
I request everybody, because only 4, 5, 6 are on the video. Can I request everybody to be on the video?
May I, sir? May I start?
Yes, Meera. Go ahead, Meera.
Yeah. Very good afternoon to both of you and to all the other participants. Good to see Dr. Agarwal. I think we've, if you remember, we've met 2-3 times in GIPCs.
I know. I remember very much.
In Delhi and in Bangalore and other places. I hope you do remember. Of course, there's a change in hairstyle right now because of lockdown. No haircut. Okay, so thanks a lot, Mr. Dewan, that despite being so unwell and being hospitalized for quite some time, and you are still coming on the forum and discussing all these things. Thank you so much for your these efforts. They are really appreciated by all. Now, I have 2 things to say right now. the first thing is about the vaccine, which you just now mentioned. It's
Yes.
really creditable that the work which your company has done for Covishield and other patents which you had offered to be in open this thing criteria of not charging anything and all. And the thing is that the co-vaccine which Bharat Biotech has made, I being an immunopathologist and in IP since 14 years, I can tell you that this co-vaccine which they have taken whole virus
Yes.
genome as a vaccine is actually showing better efficacy, 86% efficacy it has reported in
Then
phase 3
Covishield.
clinical trials. Yes, and it is very efficient for various mutant forms of the virus. So I think that is actually myself also, I'm waiting for that vaccine to come in the market to have it, because Covishield is not protective against many variants. So are many other mRNA
Yes.
viruses like Pfizer and Moderna and others, which I have been following through. Now, the second point which actually attracted me to this webinar or this open-ended this thing discussion was IP and SMEs from ideas to market.
Mhm.
As per my experience, there are many patentees who struggle hard to get their patent granted. And after granting of the patent, they uh, feel that they have achieved a milestone, and then they should be able to commercialize their all their R&D efforts. And of course, the having in economic benefit is one of the main criteria for which is the motivation for the patentees to file the applications. But despite many strategies which are being used by myself and by my other colleagues also, we are not having very good response in this matter. So what are the strategies which you would suggest, which your company has seen have become successful? If you can suggest a few of them, then it will really benefit the patentees. That
Absolutely,
respect.
Meera. That my entire talk today is on that front.
Yes,
In
yes.
the let us say in the last seven, I would say since March 20, we have been able to license or get licensed for about I would say about 12 good inventions. We have got
Right,
licenses. We tied up. We helped licenses because what you rightly say, that a patent is not something like a picture to be hung on the wall.
right,
It is not a
right.
picture on a good with a good photo frame, and or it's a certificate, it's a legacy, it is some sort of a thing. It is a
Right,
commercial document, and unless that patent, unless a patent, or for that matter copyright, for that matter any of these what we call intellectual property rights are licensable, whether unless so as attorneys, it becomes our duty to tell the client that, yeah, and look at, when we look at inventions, we must look at them from the point of view of not for just getting patents. Many inventions are very theoretical, Meera, as you know, in your field of immunology, and they're very difficult. Particularly patents that relate to immunology are very difficult to
there are
market.
very few also, sir,
Yeah,
for
they are.
immunology. There are very few of them.
I
I have diversified into many other fields also in last 5-6 years. I've gone into engineering field also. I've got a lot of good response also in that matter. But still the problem remains that how to commercialize. Of course, I've been successful in getting 5 of the patents last year getting commercialized, but it was a lot of effort.
Of course, it
And
is.
so I was thinking whether I'm going wrong in some of my strategic efforts. So that is why I wanted to have your
Yes,
guidance in
there
the
are,
matter.
and in fact, the last part of my talk would basically be on this aspect of commercializing, how we can take forward and this whole aspect from idea. Everything
Yes,
starts from an idea
yes,
and moves
exactly.
on to finally where to take that idea to market. An idea, as you know, cannot there has to be a systematic process.
Right.
And
Right.
following that systematic process is what this whole game is about. I'd say virtually it's a game that inventors are playing. And not just inventors. The idea can be not only an idea relating to your field. An idea can also be, a lot of ideas are ideas in relation to copyrights. For example, stories. We get a lot of people who write stories. We get a lot of people who write lyrics for songs. We get a lot of programmers that write code.
Yes.
In this,
Even questionnaires for that matter, even
yes,
questionnaires, classifications.
you know, and I've also worked in the field of education, and I know that a lot of work can be done in those field of education. But there has to be a balance. Always, we will be talking about this balance, and tell me, I don't. Is she there? Your Devapriya, you tell me whenever we have a sufficient number of people, we can actually start the talk. Veera, thank you for your inputs, and I hope I am able to, by the end of the day, and we can.
Yes.
Devapriya will share
We have
my email
21.
ID.
We have 21 participants already now.
Yes, sir.
So, Dr. Dewan, I think with the initial open house session, what we had thought, now you can. I think.
Can I start? Okay, sir.
Yeah.
Thank you. I'm glad that I'm. The whole purpose of this was to share my thoughts with you on today, being 26th April, as an important day. Maybe I'll throw a question if anybody can answer that very quickly. Why was 26th April? I know Dhanpatji will know, but anybody else of that? Why was 26th April selected as the day for World IP Day? Anybody? It's important to know when we celebrate IP Day, we are intellectual property people in this field. So can anybody say why was 26th April selected as the day for World IP Day? All right. Today was the day when WIPO, the constitution of WIPO, was signed by all the countries. So WIPO came into existence on the 26th of April, 1970. And therefore it is celebrated as world, and in the year 2000, they decided to celebrate it as World IP Day. All right. When we come to World IP Day, before I actually start, I would also like to recognize a particular time period in history. There is a story behind it, and I would like to start with that story because finally we are all storytellers. As IP, what we write in our patent documents is a story. We write stories, and that story is finally recognized as a patent. It is recognized, the whole story with the background and the field and what it's good story writing. So I would like to recognize a particular year, and I'd like to take you back into that particular time in the year 1883. Can anybody tell me what is the significance of this year 1883 in the annals of intellectual property?
First patent filed?
Sorry? No, ma'am. First patent was filed in 1542 in the state of Venice. Venice was the first patent. The first patent was filed in Venice in 1542. 1883 was the start of the cooperation of intellectual property, which means the setting up of the Paris Convention.
Yeah.
What we call the Paris Convention, the setting up of the Paris Convention in 1883. But it was not called intellectual property. And that is where my starting point of my talk today is, that this was not called intellectual property. It was called industrial property. the act that was called, or the convention that was called industrial property. And thereafter they brought in another type of intellectual property, copyrights. And when copyrights came into the fold of so-called industrial property, they said, now we know we can no longer call it industrial property, because painters, artists, sculptors, at that time there were no photographers, but all these poets, writers, they cannot be called industrial. So then there was a lot of debate, and that debate was whether they did not want to change the I. See, I is very important. Like ideas also starts with the letter I. I mean, if you're talking English, we start with I. So they did not want to change the I. So then there was a lot of debate on whether we call it intelligent property rights or intellectual property rights. There was a very heavy debate. And finally, they formulated, and finally it was decided that all this group of properties would be called intellectual property, property that came from the intellect. And why it could not be called intelligence? The reason why it could not be called intelligence was intelligence is something that comes from the universe. Intelligence is something built in. This whole aspect of inventive step would fall down if we call it intelligence. Because today, for example, I mean, you ate your dosa, somebody ate their dosa for lunch, or somebody ate some chapati for lunch. Within 4 hours, that chapati will be converted into your body. Whatever food that you have eaten, now for that, no intellect is needed. But there is an innate intelligence in your body that converts that chapati, that idli, that dosa, or that food, that sabzi that you ate, that fruit, apple that you ate, the banana that you ate was converted into your body component. It became your body. That is intelligence. That is the universal intelligence. And that is where, from that universal intelligence, in this whole process of intellectual property that we called, the first aspect, which is idea, the idea that comes into your mind, that comes from the universal intelligence. The universal intelligence plants or allows, makes an idea come into your mind. So that is the first step. Rest, whatever happens, that taking that idea to market is all part of intellectualism. That is all part of the mental or the working of the mind of the inventor, or the inventor, the author, the person who is involved in this particular taking that idea to market. Therefore, in patent documents, when I particularly see 10 inventors, or even more than one inventor, I always wonder that how can one idea, how can the same idea come to two people? How can there be two inventors? How can there be 4 inventors of one particular idea? The inventor can always be only one person who gets that idea. When he shares that idea, then that idea is shared with other persons, now the science people tell us, the brain people tell us that in a particular day, every given day, every individual gets about 400 ideas in their mind. From your waking day till the waking, that in a 24-hour period. Remember, a lot of ideas come to you in your mind during the night process, the unconscious process, which we call. They're called intuitive ideas. Those ideas come into your mind at the time, and those are all universally, they come from the universe. They come from the spirit world. They are part of the, I would say, the cosmos intelligence of the universe sends you those ideas. Now, converting that idea into the next process for taking to market is part of intellectual, it is an intellectual process. Now, the minute it is an intellectual process, that means it has come into the brain of a human being. There is a lot of talk on whether artificial intelligence, robots, for example, software programs, for example, whether they can be, in fact, if you remember, Dr. Agarwal, we had on automobiles, we had one question on whether artificial intelligence can own patents. We had that in Chennai. There was a lot of consensus and a lot of debate on that. The fact is that the idea can come only to a mind for the purposes of this conversion of idea to market. It can come only into a human mind, and then what happens to all the other ideas. Let us say you get 400 ideas in a day. At that point of time, the intellectual part of the human mind, it acts on those ideas, and the idea is the creativity part. That is the creative part of the universe, telling you to do certain things and and not do certain things. It must have happened to each one of you during your childhood or adult life. You must have conceived, you must have thought of some idea, and 10 years later, you read in the flash in the paper that somebody has filed a patent or somebody has capitalized on that idea, and you then recollect that 10 years ago I had the same idea, but I did not take advantage of it. I did not use it. The reason what happens is that what intellectualism does is that it creates fear in your mind. So the first step is that you have to convert that fear, to convert that creativity by removing that fear from your mind. The what intellectualism does, it causes fear. Am I capable of doing this? Am I capable of using this idea? Will people laugh at me if I share this idea? And if some people were not able to overcome the fear, we would still be thinking that the sun rises in the east and sets in the west. As we are still thinking the same, that the sun rises in the east and sets in the west, when it is actually the earth rising and not the sun rising. But that is because of a preconceived idea that we had. Now, we would still be thinking that the earth is flat. We would, and there are still some people who they are called flat earthers, who still think that the world is flat, that it is not a globe. We are still living on a flat earth. And therefore, all these ideas, what happens is that fear takes over, and therefore almost all the 400 ideas get shot down until some person, some inventor is brave enough to write down that idea. And when an idea is written down, that is the first process of taking that idea to the market. Therefore, the first process that I would like to take is don't fear. Remove that fear from your mind that this idea came, whether that idea is good or bad, whether that idea itself is worthwhile, whether people, if I share this idea with my colleague or somebody else, will I be called the fourth idiot? That is something that people worry about. Will I have the funds? How can I don't have, I'm sitting in one corner or somewhere in India. Where will I get the funds to convert this idea? So all these kind of self-doubts, self-fears come in from converting. But the first thing to do is to convert that idea write it down on paper. And that is where, ladies and gentlemen, not the idea, But writing of that idea in the field of patents is where an intellectual property is born. In the case of a technical idea, an invention is born. So the next I is the invention. That is where is the last is the first genesis of that aspect. So now let us just focus. If I just focus on the field of inventions and not speak of the other IP rights, because we don't have time today for talking about copyrights and other areas of intellectual property, although they are extremely important particularly for the startups, particularly for SMEs. Copyright is a very important, it's a very strong tool in India. We are one of the few countries, you'll be surprised, we are one of the few countries in the world that have a full-fledged registration process for copyright. All over Europe, all countries in Europe don't have, they are the registration process, protection process for copyright is unheard of, unknown. We in India have this process of registration of copyright, protection of copyright. And that is something that I would urge the SMEs, the startups to first focus on when whatever may be the idea, it is a process of a product. The first copyright, the first intellectual property they must think of is write down the idea and protect it under Copyright Act. We can always do a patent act. We can always look at an invention. Even if it's an invention, whatever it is, your methods of process, just write it down. We would be quite happy to protect it. And it's a very inexpensive intellectual property right to possess. It is probably one of the cheapest intellectual property rights in the world. And it is registered in about 3 to 4 months' time. Everybody is focusing on patents. But copyright is an aspect. Any idea can be protected under the Copyright Act, and then it becomes as valuable an intellectual property right as anything else. So remember, any idea you get, write it down, protect it under the Copyright Act, and then we talk about patents. Now, people ask me, when do you file a patent application? The minute you write your idea, convert that idea into an invention, that is the point of time to file your patent application. Don't do searches, don't do any activity. I would say either write it yourself, because it's quite file a patent application yourself. We are also fortunate in this country where we have a process called provisional patent filing. Most countries in Europe, there are very few countries in the world like Australia or the US that have this provisional patent filing process. The minute you have...
I have one question in between. You
Yes,
said that ideas can be protected by registration under the Copyright Act.
Yes, sir.
But my confusion is, like, copyright can only give you a right whereby the others cannot copy it, but the idea need not be copied. The idea can be expressed in so many other forms.
Of course.
Somebody who has registered an idea as a copyright by writing something,
Yes, sir.
but the other person, without copying it in a literary form, he can use that idea in making a product, and thereby
Yes,
he will
sir.
say that it is not a violation of the Copyright Act, because it
Yes,
is
sir.
not copying. It is manufacturing.
The question is that somebody who gets an idea first, how do you, what is the other method? There is no other method of saying that this idea came to me first.
That is why provisional application under the Patent Act.
We can, but not every provisional patent application, as you know that sometimes patent applications, there are various areas. For example, let us say you have a code, a software code, for example. You've got a program. You've got a program that you have written.
Yeah, in case of software code, I agree with you.
Yeah, so sir, a lot of these startups lot of startups, lot of unicorns that are there today are in the field of software. And I'm particularly urging this group of people that once you have a
There I agree with you.
code,
There I agree with you.
this code, this is a code, the idea that you have got, once you protect that code, and there is no other way to prove that you have, that this idea belongs to you. And that is what, if idea is disclosed, then will it be novelty killing? No, sir. See, the whole idea is that you file this idea as you file this under the Copyright Act as an unpublished document. An unpublished document is not available for publication at the Copyright Office. And the idea, the whole aspect is that at least protect that idea. Sir, can we add extra inventor's name after filing a provisional at the time of filing? Of course we can file, sir. Of course we can file. We have done several. We have several. Even forgetting the complete specification. Sometimes we have filed the additional inventors' names. I'm just answering some questions that are coming across, so that immediately when we are doing it, please go ahead and do that.
Yeah.
As I talk, if some thought process comes to your mind, I'm quite happy to answer those questions as it is, sir. All right. Therefore, sir, the only way to protect that I had this idea first, because there are whole aspects of there. In India, we don't have a Trade Secrets Act. We don't have this act called anything to protect trade secrets. Trade secrets, the way to do that, I am fighting a couple of cases today where people are speaking of violation of trade secrets. If there was copyright, I could have immediately said that this was an idea that I had. Now this idea that can be protected is, it can protect from your ex-employees. There have been cases in the Delhi High Court where your ex-employee takes your own idea. Dhanpaji, I can tell you, I can say that I mean, you have had personal experience of what I'm talking about.
I know.
So I'm not going into that, area, but that is what I was trying to say. Had the concepts, had you created all those concepts and protected it under the Copyright Act, and an ex-employee of yours goes and copies that, you could have used that copyright certificate to immediately file even a criminal complaint against an ex-employee, sir. I'm just sharing that is one concept which is a neglected area of this ideas to market story, sir. All right.
Now, it's a very, very innovative idea you are throwing about protection of the ideas, because many people still have a very vague idea about the copyright protection.
Yes, sir. Somebody again asked a question about, will copyright registration kill an idea? As I said, this idea is an unpublished work. There are two types of copyright registrations. One is copyright in a published work and copyright in an unpublished work. If it is just an idea and the work is not published, this whole idea, this whole copyright registration certificate along with your idea is returned to you. It never gets published. Therefore, it is an unpublished document, and therefore it will not be a novelty destroying it will not be a novelty destroying step. All right. Now let's come back to the ideas to market journey. So this is the point of time when you file your patent application. Don't do any searches, because in our experience, every search engine today is leaky. every search engine that you put in your keywords is immediately picked up. Whatever you do, any searches, and therefore, unless you give it to a professional person to do a search, even we as professionals discourage doing a search before filing your provisional patent application. So the whole aspect is that the next step in the journey of this idea to the market is writing this idea down and filing your patent application. Then it becomes what is called an invention. Now the next step The next step, of course, in the invention is investment. The next I is investment. Of course, each person will be able to invest according to their own ability. But without that investment into that idea, without that investment into that invention, it is not possible to take of course, your first investment will be filing the patent application. That is the first investment that you do. But then there is you have to look at investment at this point of time. For this investment at this point of time, you need to have what is called a structure in your mind. Lots of people fail of taking their ideas to the market because they have not thought out the idea very carefully. They feel, see, every idea is never a eureka moment. Every idea is never a eureka moment. It can't on its own. It's a great idea, but on its own, it will never by itself. It needs the kind of investment. You need the kind of nurturing for taking that idea, and that idea has to be taken. And the first step, the next step in this idea to market game is innovation. Lots of people, I mean, I've seen even government officials, I've seen even people at the patent office, I've seen a lot of intellectual property attorneys. They use the word invention and innovation very loosely to mean the same thing. They definitely invention and innovation are two entirely different things. You have your invention. Invention is something on paper. It is a proper, you have thought it out technically on paper, but it is still a research product. It is still a two-dimensional, the idea in two dimensions. Once you do the investment, once an investment is done into the idea, then what you develop is a prototype. You either, if it is an article, you develop a prototype. If it is a method, you will collect all your machinery, you will collect all your steps. If it is a method of manufacture, you do various, you work on it. And the whole secret is that innovation step, the step of innovation is probably the most important step in taking that idea to market. In my experience, I can only tell you from whatever experience that I have gathered over these years, only those ideas sell where there is a proper prototype, where there is a working prototype. For that, a level of investment is of course needed. That is it has to be a self-investment. And at this point of time, it is the friends, relatives, or some part of your own money, some part of your own area, some part of your own time has to be brought into. The first part is to create a proper innovation from that invention. You have filed your provisional specification. You have now 1 year's time, as everybody knows, for filing your complete application. This is the point of time when you need to do your innovation. You need to bring in your whatever strength. And another secret is that the product, the prototype you make, the prototype that you develop has to be a Michelangelo's David kind of prototype. It has to be the best. It has to be even better than what your final product has to be. So if you are looking for external funding, we help a lot of clients. We help a lot of inventors. We do a lot of their what are called term sheets. We develop all that kind of thing. But I will not take an invention to an investor, whether it is an angel funding. We work for a lot of angel funders. We work a lot of venture capitalists. There are different kind of fundings available, and they are hungry for good inventions. And they come to us that whatever good inventions that you may have, please let us share it with us if you give us those kind of ideas. So I'm working on both sides of the fence. I work for investors. We work for, we also work for inventors. And therefore our job is to act as a catalyst between the two. As a professional advocate and as also of course a patent attorney, we cannot, lot of inventors tell us that why don't you take a share in this idea? You have written the patent application, you know so much about it. But we cannot, as professionals, we can assist people, we can charge for our professional time, but we cannot either take the side of the investor or the side of the inventor, and we act as catalysts between the two. Of course, at a professional fee. We would charge a professional fee for the documentation. We don't charge fees for so-called finder's fees. That is a typical US method of working. I am a little suspect of those kind of, they're called invention brokers or patent brokers that are involved in this particular process. There are a few in India, but I have always found them a little suspect. Now, therefore, the next aspect is, of course, to do the whole aspect of come up with a proper innovation, come up with a proper, write a code, see that the code is working, package that particular product properly. A large amount of your invention goes on in packaging. You can say that, I mean, people just do very roughly. I've seen electronic circuits that come to us with a very rough process. Again, in my experience, you have to impress the investor. The investor is an important part of any of these projects, unless, of course, you are Ambani or you're Adani or you have the kind of funds available yourself. You have the kind of banker funds available. You have the kind of you have a business, running business. We are also work for them, and those are the people. So, but here we are talking because today's topic was directed to SMEs and startups. These are people who are generally short of funds. They are very strong on ideas, but short of funds. Now, therefore, for these people, they definitely need a good investor. And that is where we come in professionally. I think Dr. Agarwal is also in the same, that's your part of your field of bringing in financials and looking at that particular part. So that is an area that is also an important part. And the next, apart from investing in the patent application, there is a right time for investing in what is called a freedom to operate searching of that particular, because no investor is going to invest in a patent application unless there is a proper professional search done. That searching of that patent application is an extremely important exercise to know. The investor wants to know whether this particular invention is really is it really novel? There is some level of novelty, there is some level of newness, there is some level of it is going to work, and they ask why it will be work. So we prepare.
Just one query here.
Yes, sir.
You mentioned about FTO and then you also correlated it with the prior art search.
Yes, sir.
Prior art search is limited to the particular area of invention, whereas FTO is done when this idea or the invention is commercialized and by converting it into a product when the product is launched in the market. So yes, FTO is for the product or is for the particular invention?
No, sir. A freedom to operate, if you are going to look at an investor, in our experience, an investor always asks for a freedom to operate search.
Yeah, I agree.
The investor will always ask for a freedom to operate search. and he may ask for a freedom to operate search in the markets where you have to, of course, find a market. These are all ideas that have to be thought of the inventor. We would say that where is the market? There must always be a market for that particular product. There may be the market may be, and the market is not always the United States of America or Europe or a third. There may be a lot of honeybee inventions. We call them honeybee inventions. The markets may be Africa, sub-Saharan Africa. It may be South America. That is a very neglected area of exploiting. I believe a lot of South American countries have a great respect for Indian inventions. A lot of African countries, I would say the East African and Sub-Saharan African countries, have a great respect for Indian inventions. And these are areas because they have actually, a lot of Indians have worked there and they are aware. I have marketed, I have licensed a couple of products into Ethiopia recently and with great success. Your Jindal, for example, every tin shanty in Ethiopia has a Jindal JSW roof. Almost, I mean, you'll be surprised at the kind of, there is a lot. I mean, people forget, people just, most inventors, when you think, where do you want to file your patent application? I want to get it in the US. How are you going to market in the US? I don't know, but I want to get a US patent. I want to get a European patent. I want to get a patent in the UK. I want to get a patent in, sometimes they go to Japan. Would you will you be filing it in China? No, no, no. China is useless because China, but people forget that that there is a good China and a bad China. There is a lot of innovative China. China has come up not just like that. Those of you who know of China, in 1990, there was almost no innovation. Today, the largest amount of patent applications in the world are from China. China has in fact, 3 times the number of patent applications they filed last year than what the US filed. So the amount of innovation.
More than 13 lakh.
Yes, sir. Huge amount of patent applications are being filed in China, sir. And there is a lot of innovation. There is a lot of good products. I would say good China. So I think saying that China is counterfeiting or China is is coming up with substandard product is being a little unfair. Anyway, that was not the topic of this particular thing. But I would say that if you want to go to the investor, then the investor, you have to give him a professional document. Agarwalji, this is the kind of document that maybe in your area, your people of your field are very good at in preparing proper term sheets. What is the timelines? What is the kind of investment needed? The inventors fail. Why good ideas do not go to the market is because of the lack of proper a professional document which they prepare, which you would need to prepare for the investor. That is what the investor is looking at. And it creates respect, that document, apart from other things. A good written patent specification, a good freedom to professionally done freedom to operate, and a good plan, a good business plan made by the inventor impresses and creates respect in the minds of the investor for that inventor. There is an initial respect. I believe one thing, sir, that God was very kind and he had a great balance. He gave some people brains, to other people he gave money. And he said, now I'm sending both of you down in the earth and you join together. So that was so the whole aspect of taking idea to market is joining these two people with brains and people with money together and to take products into the marketplace.
I call it Jnana Yogi and Karma Yogi.
Yes, sir. That's kind of that we will convert it into our philosophy, sir, the Hindu philosophy. That is the kind of thing that was very important. Now, of course, if you have done all this, you've done all these aspects. there is a last aspect which is again very critical, sir. The last aspect is integration. Another thing that is forgotten. I have filed a lot of, and I'll just take two examples of what I mean by integration. The product, a good invention, good innovation. Even the person has got money, he has invested money. But unless that invention can be integrated into a business, the idea will fail. It will fail without that integration. And this is an extremely important, and I'll just take two examples. I've got a lot of examples, but I would like to hear the thoughts of some of the participants. And that is why I'm taking this, because this is the last I, the I of integration. And I'll just give you two working examples. The first example, and where we got very strong patents, very, very strong patents. And the first patent that I would take is an electric bulb. I have filed in my career at least 4 patents, 4 inventions, which were granted patents in several countries in the world for electric bulb, and for an electric bulb, a proper electric bulb, which will last for 100 years.
100 years.
It will 100 years. Now the patent was granted, and it is genuinely, the person tested, of course he did not test it for 100 years, but it would have lasted. They did what are called accelerated studies over periods of time, running the bulb over a period of those kind of times, and they did even accelerated studies, excellent studies, very correct studies. And the bulb was, now patents were filed, the patents were filed in about 15 countries. All patent offices accepted, yes, great innovation. But there was no market taker. Why? Because it will not integrate into the business of any business company. Why? Because once you sell one bulb to, if I sell Dhanpatji, if I sell you one bulb, which is going to last for 100 years, what business will I do, sir? How can it integrate into my business?
That's right.
That cannot, that was not a great invention.
The demand creation is also very important.
Sorry, sir. Yes,
Demand
integration.
creation. Yeah.
There must be some business. There must be what is called built-in obsolescence. Every car, for example, I mean, it is not for nothing that when you buy a car, the car manufacturer gives you a warranty for 3 years. Why does he give you a warranty for 3 years? Because he knows that in 3 years, this car is going to become dust. He knows it is built for obsolescence. Business, the secret of good business is obsolescence. The person must come again and again and buy that product for you. He must be a satisfied customer. But integration means that there must be some level of obsolescence. It must become, the product must become obsolete over a period of time. And that is why people like Microsoft, people like various software companies, they stop giving support after a period.
Apple also.
Sorry, Apple,
yeah.
I mean, the phones, they stopped giving support. If you remember when I don't know whether you were there, our initial computer that we had, I had a memory of 640 kilobytes.
Right.
The initial memory was 640 kilobytes. Now we are talking about terabytes of memory. And the program itself, the software program itself takes several MBs of data or just for the program. So therefore, there is what is called a built-in obsolescence. That is the marketplace, sir. That is the business place. So when you have to build a product, you must also think of the marketplace. Now, I will give you the second example where you will automatically understand. I again filed at least 3 patent applications for a blade, your razor blade.
Yeah.
Which again could be sharpened, and you give it a sharpener, and that blade could be sharpened again and again. So the alloy was such and the sharpener was such that I could have used this blade maybe for 5 years or 6 years. The guy tried with every blade company. Wilkinson, he went to Malhotra's, he went to 7 o'clock, he went to 6 morning, he went to everybody. Nobody wanted to touch that invention. Again, why? Lack of integration. The invention is good, excellent invention. Invention would serve a purpose, but it can only be a personal invention. For taking that idea to marketplace, I must be able to integrate that invention into my business. I must integrate that invention into some sort of that, what I said, built-in obsolescence, built in that area. Therefore, that is the final secret of your idea. You must build it. You must build this whole aspect of idea. I'll again repeat this 5 I's.
Right.
Firstly, idea. The idea comes from intelligence. The idea then, intellectualism means overcoming the fear of that idea. That fear of yourself, basically, it is not fear of the idea. You don't fear the idea. You fear your capability as an inventor, as a person who got that idea. I can share a secret with you. In the last month, I filed my 65th invention patent application. I filed my 65th patent application, of which I got granted 45 of my inventions got patents granted. Out of them, at least 7 of them, two of the patents so 2 of the inventions are such that anybody who sees those particular patents, they want. I mean, I've gone to judges, I've gone to courts. It is just a simple file cover. The file cover that I filed in 2010, sir. I had this patent application and patent for the e-justice system, where nobody needs to go to any court. Nobody needs to, my entire process from filing of a patent application to the grant, and I can share with anybody who's interested. I called it the e-justice system, where nobody needs to any court, all examination can be done sitting at whatever, and in a proper manner, in a proper methodology. That was 2010. 10 years ago, I had conceived of that particular idea. So and had I said, I mean, when I filed, people said, "What is it? Why would you file such a patent application?" I thought, no. So that was why, that is the concept. And I filed, whether it is pharmaceuticals, a large number of pharmaceutical patents that I've got granted, large number of mechanical, electronics, in all subject matters, and that gave me.
As an inventor.
Sir, as an inventor, sir, myself.
Oh, great. Today we are hearing not Dr. Dewan as a patent attorney, we are hearing Dr. Dewan as an inventor.
Yes, sir. That is my.
Not only
no, sir, but I've also granted. I mean, this year, apart from the 50th year, what I am more proud. I'm not so proud of my 52 years, but I'm proud of the fact that this year I got my 5,000th patent granted in India, sir.
Sir, 3 years.
Thank you, sir. I got 5,000 patents granted for our clients, and I would say this year has been the busiest year of my life. 2020 has been the busiest year of for the patents, for getting patents, because there was a lot of cooperation. Of course, what also helped me is that I've been teaching some of the controllers have been my students. I taught at least 4 batches of patent controllers and examiners, and I'm more proud of the fact that some of those have done a great job at the patent office. They have now risen to levels of controllers and deputy controllers, not controllers but deputy controllers, and it gives me great joy to see what is the kind of activity, the kind of good work that they are doing. And I may share this, that they are probably stricter with my patent applications. They are stricter with getting my patent application. They say, sir, we cannot allow a patent application, your patent application, to have even a flaw, because you are our teacher and we cannot. Therefore, that has only helped me in improving the quality of our patents.
Great.
Anyways, that was just this was not talking. I did not want to talk too much about myself, and I would love to share. I would love to have ideas from you guys, or if there are any questions. Dhanpatji, please.
No, I can only say it's a great talk by you today. It's a great
Thank
talk.
you.
Simply, starting with the concept of universal intelligence, जिसको हम लोग ब्रह्म ज्ञान कहते हैं.
Yes,
So from there, from macro to the micro, then this idea to invention, to investment, to innovation, and then integration, and then the whole concept, it's very, very illuminating, very, very illuminating.
Thank you, sir.
I think those who have been hearing you today, they would feel very, very enlightened, and all very, very practical also. It's not that you have given example of this word built-in obsolescence. So this is the real, the trade secret of your, for any scientist or for any inventor, that whenever they do the invention, well, okay, inventions, when the scientists, they do the inventions, they are not like businessmen, but then this business trick is always there if you are really looking for idea to market. So
that is the trick. That is the secret of idea to market.
yes,
The idea must be marketable, sir.
yes, that's right.
The main
So at the
only
very start of the idea being conceived, one should think whether it is marketable or not. Otherwise, the whole investment and the investor will not come. As you have
And we have discouraged, sir. We have discouraged a lot of inventors. I feel those inventors, if they are hearing me, they will understand.
But this is a global phenomenon, sir, because when we find the figure that only 5% or 7% or maximum 10% of the inventions are commercialized worldwide, so there could be, some inbuilt problem, because this concept has to be, made clear to the inventors that the ideas must be marketable. Because otherwise,
that is the first
you are spending your money, and the CSIR people and all, I don't think that CSIR is able to, commercialize their invention, even maybe maximum 3 to 4% only. But DRDO is one organization which I know where there is 100% commercial, because they first think about the marketability or the usability of the invention, then only they spend money for the invention. So
that is, I am the principal attorney, sir. I am the principal attorney for DRDO, sir.
So
I am the.
you must be agreeing with me. Or is there is some difference of opinion?
Yes, sir.
So
And
I know that they do the invention. They spend money only once they are sure that this
absolutely, sir.
is usable.
And we have actually licensed, even for DRDO, we have licensed DRDO technology to various other armies outside India, and we urge them, and that is why even Dr. Guru Prasad, who is now retired, along with his assistants, we were able to license some of our technologies, DRDO technologies, to African armies, to armies in other parts of Asia, and it was great. Even to Russia, we were able to license one technology to Russia in our missile, one missile technology, which we were able to do that under a Russian program. I can't give details because that's part of the Official Secrets Act, but we were able to do that, sir. And therefore that is one concept that inventors should have in mind. Meera was having this kind of issue. We must first have the idea must be marketable. That is the message. If this is the message, one message, if you forget everything else what I spoke,
Okay.
if
So
the idea must be marketable.
We have few questions. And the queries can also, if they like, they can raise their hand and they can speak also. But one question which is there in the chat box is from Dr. Puspalata to everyone. If the idea is disclosed in the copyright, then will
Yes, sir.
it be novelty killing document if the timelines are not followed? Please comment.
Yeah, I spoke about this, sir.
Yeah.
That if at the idea stage, before publication, see, there are copyrights can be taken. I'll repeat that. Copyrights can be filed for unpublished works and published works. A copyright file for an unpublished work is a secret document. You get the work back along with the certificate. You get this copyright certificate, and therefore, as I repeat that a copyright, the idea protected in a copyright does not destroy novelty. Of course, sir. Abhijit, go ahead. Go ahead.
Sir, it was nice hearing from you. It is our absolutely pleasure to know the concepts from you. So my question here is, sir, we understand that patents is very essential for startups or small business, but I feel that India should come up with utility model as well, because patent takes time and it is expensive thing. So what is your view on utility models?
Sir, utility models, at the moment, there are two countries which have good and strong utility models. Of course, there are others. There is Australia with its what we call an innovation patent.
Correct.
There is China which has got its utility model. There is Korea that has got its utility model, and a few other countries.
Germany also.
Germany has got the Gebrauchsmuster. They call it Gebrauchsmuster. And of course there is Ukraine and a couple of other countries that have this. But I can only say that in Australia, the utility model concept or innovation patent is being revoked, being repelled, because it is not considered as an important intellectual property right. In China also, the utility model process they are talking about doing away with the utility model. The Gebrauchsmuster will stay. Now the Gebrauchsmuster, if a system like the Gebrauchsmuster comes in India, probably yes, only for what are called articles or devices, simple devices that have some basic what are called novelty, and then you do not consider the inventive step of those devices. Yes, we may have. They have been talking about utility models. I think for the last 10 years now in India, they have been talking about utility models as a process. But the patent office, the main resistance of bringing in utility models is at the patent office. The patent office is the stumbling block, not the government, but the patent office. They say that we do not have adequate staff for policing or for granting of this utility model, and unless that happens, so they are saying that we need separate funding. Today, the strength of the controllers is almost 50%, and partly I would say industry is to blame for that, because once there is a good controller, once there is a good examiner, the industry snatches away that particular examiner and brings them into their offices, takes them out. So with all the training that is given to them, whatever is to be given to them, if 100 people are recruited at the patent office, by the end of the recruitment, only 50 people get left. So that is the whole process step. So we are very short of people, and that is the whole reason, Abhijit, why utility models are not coming, because we don't have. And recently, another, I would say, a tragic event took place is that the IPAV was disbanded, and that is I believe is a retrograde step from the point of intellectual property in India, because now for inventors, for trademark owners, the costs will escalate almost 5 to 6 times because of the abolishment of the IPAB. Yes, Ramesh, I believe you had a question. Ramesh, I think I saw a flash. Abhijit, anything else?
No, sir. Thank you very much, sir.
You're welcome, Abhijit.
Vijay Sitaraju. Are our ideas generating from CSIR and other public research institutions are not having market potential? Why CSIR tech failed if our labs ideas have potential?
Sir, Vijay, I believe you are from CSIR. Vijay, do you belong to the CSIR? Vijay?
Vijay, but he has raised the question. I think he may not be there now. He might have left.
He has left. All right, sir.
Yeah, but you can answer.
All that I can say is that I believe some CSIR patents, some TIFAC patents, some patents of NRDC. These are the three government bodies that I'm working for. Some of them have in fact been successful because they had a market. Many of these academician patents are good at academics. They have a theoretical value, but are sad to say, many of these patents many of these inventions and ideas, they lack the marketability. They lack this aspect of marketability, and therefore I think what happens is that inventions that are marketable, we are actually losing about 5 lakh patent applications every year
Globally.
because of our educational program. The PhDs and the master's programs in science, even at the IIT levels or the colleges, their whole aspect is publication. They want to publish very fast. And once, as you know, once the application is published, then they lose that invention, and no businessman is interested if there is no patent application. That is the other thing that works. Many good ideas are not converted to patent applications. And many patent applications, many ideas that are converted to patent applications are not marketable. That is the tragedy of this country, sir.
Okay. So Dr. Pushpalata is just giving a remark like this, sir, in such type of case, it should not have passed the patentability criteria.
Sorry?
She says that maybe that those published inventions may
Yes, sir.
not have passed the patentability criteria.
They may have, sir. They may have passed the patentability. They may have passed the patentability criteria. They may have. Some of them would have passed the patentability criteria. Some of them may not have. But at least, unfortunately, because there was no intellectual property associated with those ideas, no business house was prepared to take those ideas. They take the person as a consultant for future ideas, but then the ideas itself gets lost because there was no protection. But because it was published, because those ideas were published in papers, because the idea was published, because the idea was disclosed, they lost the chance.
So you have given the number as 500,000.
500,000, yes, sir. That is the number
but
of.
If that be the case, then Government of India must be very serious on it, because India is losing a great IP potentiality.
Yes, sir.
So
We are losing.
Half of them not filed as a patent, then India can, come under the first 3 or 4.
We would have become one of the top patent filers. In fact, as you can see, let me share another thought process with you. In the US, the number of, not so much other countries, but the US, 1/3 of the patent applications has an Indian as an inventor, sir.
Oh.
1/3 of the patent applications has an Indian as an inventor, and many of them are from Andhra Pradesh, Tamil Nadu, even Maharashtra, some of them from Maharashtra, West Bengal, Karnataka. These are the South Indian states. Many of the good inventors, and because of the papers that they published, because of that they were taken, They file patent applications and we underestimate ourselves in India, sir. We underestimate, and our institutions are not supportive. Sir, I would blame. I'm sorry. I mean, I must share this on this particular platform. This whole aspect started. This whole and it is none other than I forget Doctor. I forget his name. It starts with the R. Dr. Mashalkar.
Mashalkar, yes.
Dr. Mashalkar made this comment, and I must share this comment from you with all of you. This is because of our educational system. Our educational system is Lord Macaulay's educational system. Right. They did not want to create scientists. They did not want to create researchers. They wanted to create babus for running the English administration system. Therefore,
in Calcutta, we have a writers building.
Sorry?
In Calcutta, we had this writers building for babus.
Yes, babus. Yes, sir. So these are the people that is what Lord Macaulay's system wanted to create. And because of that, their whole aspect was that their whole in the CVs of Indian scientists, they are very proud of the number of publications. A US scientist will be, and publications never give Nobel Prizes. Unless you are Dr. Khanna or you are Dr. These are the people who went into the US. In the US, a scientist, when he presents his CV has the number of patents. He's more proud of not the number of publications, but the number of patents that he possesses. But our scientists are very happy, and that is what was the creation of Lord Macaulay. They deliberately did that. They deliberately made our scientists and postgraduates publish rather than filing patent applications. And that is what caused, and that legacy is what we are carrying. Now, this was a phrase coined by Dr. Mashalkar. You publish and perish.
Right.
But you patent, publish, and prosper. That is another idea. That is another idea that will take you to the marketplace. You get the idea, you patent, you publish, and then you prosper. But you publish and straight away you perish, because that is the end of your. Because publication happens, publication doesn't happen, publication creates a lot of controversy. There's peer review. It is not conducive to marketing.
I think whatever you have told today in your almost towards the concluding side, those things should have been at the preface or at the introductory level of our national IPR policy.
Yes.
Because now many people feel that India needs to invent more and India needs to do more research work. And we already have a lot of research work. But because we don't follow the right IPR policy, so our invention gets vanished, gets perished. So it has to be, put to the right.
In fact, it should be made statutory, sir, as part of the educational policy. NCERT, and I've spoken this to Dr. Bhushan Patwardhan, who was part of the UGC. He's one of my clients, and we have filed a lot of patent applications for Dr. Patwardhan, who was part of the, and that was one idea that we marketed at several $1 million.
Sir, if you feel so, we can organize another, workshop wherein, we can invite persons like you and some others, and we can title it as that India or IP as a powerhouse.
Yes,
IP as a powerhouse for India to become economically.
No, sir. I would call India as a powerhouse of IP.
Powerhouse, yes.
India as the powerhouse of IP, potential powerhouse of IP. We have PhD students here. We have got doctorates here, and I believe that if we can take as a statutory part, and I've worked with a couple of universities now. I work with IIT Gandhinagar. I'm working with Bharati Vidyapith in Pune. I'm working with a couple of universities now, and we have now made it a statutory part of their educational policy that no PhD program will go forward unless the IP is cleared by a firm like us or by anybody at that particular standard. And we have created what is called an IP cell.
Yes.
Many universities, sir, in India, many educational institutions in India do not have this IP cell.
Sir, I fully agree with you, and I have been, associated with some of the university, Sikkim Central University. I am Government of India nominated member of the board, and there
Yes,
I have, we have set up one IPR cell, and I have, along with some few other senior faculty members, we have developed a IPR policy for few universities. So there, I am also equally concerned about what you have said just now, and then IP, without IP, you see, this intelligence will simply go to, it's not going to be productive.
Yes, sir. And we can have a sharing. Sir, what happens is that we have worked out a 60-40 sharing in IIT Gandhinagar, that where the institution gets 40%, 60% goes to and the institution itself, because what happens is that many business houses are quite happy to tie up with institutions on the IP. We have incubator cells with an institute in Pune, which is called Agarkar Research Institute. We set up an incubator cell in Agarkar Research Institute, and we worked out for what is called a pharmaceutical product called silver nanogels, the whole silver nanogel particles for an antimicrobial formulations. The research also, the institute benefited, the business house benefited, the inventors benefited. It was an all-round win-win situation. But that is the way, that is what is called taking this whole concept of taking idea to market, sir.
Yeah, because of this slackness, I think government of, you see, India is paying $30 billion on account of royalty for the technology which belong to, say, some of our own inventors sitting outside or living outside India. But then, if there is a reverse brain drain, if there is no need of even reverse brain drain, whatever we have here, if they are not published, then we can convert it into IP, and then our IP can fetch a lot of revenue from rest of the world.
Yes, sir. We would have got and then take it forward, because these are single individual students. What happens is that a PhD student is there for about 2 years. MSc student is there for about 2 years, PhD maybe for 3 years. After that, the idea dies because he's very happy. He got his PhD. He goes, he's now, he uses that PhD for going to the US and moving out. If we were able to give him that motivation I mean, the whole concept is startups and SMEs. We give these startups and SMEs, some of them are based on good ideas. Based them on good ideas, we can work and ensure that these people remain in the country.
I think we should take this topic ahead.
Yes,
India
sir.
is a powerhouse of IP, and
Yes.
then I think it can really help in
As a potential powerhouse, sir. It's a potential powerhouse.
Potentiality, potentiality is ultimately converted into the reality.
Yes, sir.
We have the potentiality, and I always say that our human resource is so potential that it can generate a lot of intellectual resource and IP. So that potentiality, somewhere somebody has to identify. The way you have answered the issue today, I think today's this World IP Day celebration, we have to the collective efforts of all the participants, and especially through your illuminating ideas, I think we can take it forward, and definitely it can help, strengthening our economy, strengthening the people, empowering the people. Because if India grows, then only we can take care of the poverty and unemployment problem. So that's the basic issue. Otherwise, only economic growth with a couple of people for a particular section of the people, and a lot of people living in the villages, they remain marginalized or they remain deprived, then there is no meaning. But then many of the ideas can come from the villages also, from the farmers also.
Yes, sir.
Understand those grassroots innovation sort of things. Which
there is an organization, sir, called Honeybee Foundation in Gujarat.
Honeybee Foundation. Okay.
Honeybee Foundation. They are doing excellent work, sir. We are supporting them.
अनिल गुप्ता जी का क्या?
हाँ, ऐसा गुप्ता जी थे. It's an excellent place, resource for village inventions, good village inventions, and some of them are really marketable ideas.
No,
But only because
as you mentioned, few states like Andhra Pradesh, Karnataka, Tamil Nadu,
yes, sir.
and West Bengal also you have included. So eastern part, I think West Bengal can take the lead in this because there used to be a saying that like what Bengal thinks today, India thinks tomorrow. So there's a lot of potentiality in the intellectual.
Sir, there are some brilliant scientists in the Northeast. There are some brilliant scientists in West Bengal. Again, in fact, I would say that there are. The Western India is more on the commercial side.
Yeah.
But the Eastern India is where there is a wealth of knowledge.
Yeah, this is what you said in the beginning, that the God has sent two types of people, the money people, people with the intelligence. So there can be, within India, there can be a good marriage between the two.
The Haryanvis, the Rajasthanis, the Gujaratis, the Baniyas of this part, even the Maharashtrian, the communities at this area. These are the areas where there is the business community.
Yeah,
these are the people, and therefore it could be such a lovely blend. It could be a synergistic relationship if these two parts of the country tie up into a proper. That is my vision.
आप हम मिलकर के इस 5 I's को थोड़ा डेवलप करते हैं.
हाँ जी सर.
आज जो 5 I's जो आपने बताए हैं, इन 5 I's को थोड़ा डेवलप करते हैं. Let's make a paper. We publish this paper.
Sir, I think I'm a little exhausted, sir. Can I?
Yes, sir. Yes.
Can we stop, sir?
Lot of gratefulness and my hearty feelings. I
thank
think
you, sir.
that we must thank you for this wonderful session, despite your recovery from the hospital just 2-3 days. But I think you have been really very, very eloquent and very, very candid in your approach, and you have really given some very, very practical idea on the topic, which is.
Thank you, sir. And if anybody, any person, sir, please share my email ID. Devapriya, please share, whoever were participating today, please share my email ID, and I'd love to answer any questions that they may have.
I'll ask Anurag to send all the participants the number one, the video recorded this talk by you, as well as your brief profile and the email
ID.
Thank you,
sir.
Yes.
Thank you, sir.
Yes.
Okay, sir.
Okay.
Bye. Thanks a lot. Thanks a lot for inviting me.
We take this today's session as close. So usually I end up with the one sloka. So we have this Shanti mantra. So वो करते हैं.
Yes, sir.
Om Purnamada Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnameva Vasishyate. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti.
Okay, sir.
Okay.
Good night. God bless all of you, sir, and keep safe and keep healthy, sir. Important, sir. Good day, sir.
Thank you, everybody. Yeah, thank you, sir.
Thank you, Abhijit.
Okay.
Okay, sir.